I'm Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome to my very first quarterly favorites. I've never done one of these before, how exciting. So let's just hop right into it. So in the first quarter of this year, I read 27 books, which is pretty good going. My goal for the year is 100. I didn't used to set a goal that would be too challenging for me because I like my reading to be pleasurable. I don't want it to be like you must get this read by this time, you need to read this many pages. That doesn't work for me. Reading is what makes me happy, what makes me chill. So 27 is great. So I'm just going to give you my top 5, and sod's law, I only have one of those as a physical copy, and it's not even mine. So the one that I do have as a physical copy is Please Look After Mother by Kyung Sook-Shin. So this was my first foray into Korean translated fiction, and I've already read more because this was a great introduction, and I cannot wait to read more of this author's work. So this is from a few different perspectives, all told in the second person, and together they weave this beautiful picture of this woman that is this person's mother, and the person that she is when viewed from different eyes and with different lenses and with a different relationship to one another. So, you know, from like one child to another, you're going to have a different relationship with your mother. And this was super interesting because it also goes back into her upbringing and what made her the person that she was. And it was so simple and so character driven. Like, I love a character driven book, and this is super character driven. It's really hard to describe because it's character driven. It's hard to really talk about what the plot is about, but it's all in the beginning. Her mother goes missing, and then we get a whole narrative of this woman's life, past and, you know, like very recent past and back when she was growing up. This author has a very beautiful way with words and does a lot of showing without telling, and it's stunning. I don't really know how else to describe it, but I cannot wait to read more from this author. The next one in my top 5, like, this is just a top 5. I have a top 2. The other 3 are in no particular order. So the next one is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you guys watch my vlog about this book, I wax lyrical about this book. Oh my god. I've never read a novel in verse before. I never thought I would read a novel in verse. I didn't think it was my cup of tea, but heck yeah, pour me a cup of that poetry tea. Does that work? Anyway, so The Poet X is following Siamara. She is we're gonna have a dog visit. Are you gonna come visit? So we're following our main character, Siamara. She is from a Dominican family. Her mother is very devoutly Christian, and Siamara wants to be a poet. She's writing poetry. She's starting to discover the world of like slam poetry, like spoken word poetry, and she uses that to explain a lot of this, you could say suffering, but a lot of the things that she goes through in her life. She also has a twin called that she just calls Twin, and he also has these battles to do with their mother and their upbringing, and the way it just discusses the way that their lives are restricted by their mother's really strict idea of religion and her idea of what they should be according to her rules. And if you can pick up the audio, I would really recommend picking up the audiobook, because Elizabeth Acevedo reads it herself, and it's like you're just listening to, you're listening to a spoken word poem, and it's fucking beautiful. It's so stunning. Like, I cannot recommend this book enough, and I can't wait to read more from her. I'm so glad that I decided to finally read this book. The next one on this list is a completely different kettle of fish. It's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora, Neale Hurston. Again, I waxed lyrical about this in a vlog, but Their Eyes Were Watching God is following Janie. It's just after slavery ended, and it follows her through 3 different marriages, the complications of those relationships, the intricacies of her feelings for them, her intricacies with her relationships with her family, and so many trials and tribulations that this woman goes through. But at the same time, it talks about community and perseverance and just how strong of a character Janie herself is. And it's so touchingly poignant. I think there's a point that I always talk about with regards to this book, is that when they're talking about Janie and her partner, instead of them always telling us as a reader and them as characters, I love you, I love you, I love you, they'll just describe like the tiniest little moment between the two of them, like something so everyday and subtle, but the way that it's crafted, the way that it's written, really lets you know, it really gets across how deep their love for each other is in so few words. And it is absolutely artful. I actually just saved this author's autobiography onto my TBR on Script, so I'm super keen to read that. It's not just about suffering, it's also about black joy, and this is a term that I didn't really think about, obviously as a white person. I think it was Jesse from Bow Ties and Books that was talking about a book that they said was full of black joy. And that's exactly what this was full of. It was full of heartbreak, but full of joy at the same time. And it was utterly, utterly stunning. Now my top 2. I need hard, like actual copies of these books, because I want to reread them. I want to take notes on them. Like, I'm not a note taker when it comes to reading. As I said before, I like it to be, a nice, enjoyable, like hobby, I don't want to take notes on things. But these two I want to. So in a very, very close second is Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. Again, I've talked about this book so much because it is perfect, like absolutely perfect. I've got one more of this author's books and I want to read the rest of their back catalogue because, oh my God, are they an incredible writer. So this follows our main character, Ada, who is born with gods inside of her. This is based on Nigerian law, not even law, it's based on Nigerian beliefs, and it is partially, it's semi-autobiographical. And these gods are awakened within them through trauma. So basically these gods have laid dormant inside of Ada's body until they experience a trauma, and then they start to make themselves known. Then we're not really told the story from Ada's point of view. We're told the story by the Abanje, by the gods' point of view. And they talk to Ada directly, they talk about themselves individually, and they talk about themselves as a collective we. And it crafts this whole story about how trauma is collected within our bodies and how we react to these things, and just how Ada grew up and became herself. And it's yet again another really hard book to talk about. I think I like that. That seems to be a common theme that we're having here, is I like books that it's hard to describe what they're about. You just really need to experience. Freshwater is an experience, So I really, obviously, highly recommend Freshwater. And then number 1 is In the Dreamhouse by Carmen Maria Machado. It's strange to say that a book this sad and heartbreaking is my favorite, but it really is because of how much this book spoke to me. This book made me cry. This book, it was like she was in my head. It was like, it made me confront my own abuse again from a different lens. Like literally some of those, because it's written in vignettes, so it will be Dreamhouse as, and then it'll carry on almost like little, so it's not linear, it's like little portions, like little vignettes, obviously, about Carmen Machado's real experience in an abusive relationship and her feelings towards the woman who was abusing her, and how complex those feelings are, and how difficult it is to explain, and how much being emotionally abused gets dulled down. People saying, like, you almost get an imposter syndrome from the fact that you were only emotionally abused, because yes, getting actually physically abused is fucking horrendous, but I don't think we should negate how traumatizing it is to be emotionally abused, especially over a long period of time. I mean, excerpts from this book could have been taken, she could have written them from my own life. These could have been taken from my own diary, and that, it just got me. It got me right here. I felt so seen. I felt so seen, and this book is so incredibly important. So I am definitely going to be picking it up again and doing a reread at some point when I know that I can, and then follow it up with something real fluffy afterwards, just to be kind to my poor little brain. So that's the top 5 for the quarter. My bottom 2 for the quarter. Now, if you were to ask me this question, including April, I could definitely have an answer for you, for sure. But this doesn't include April, unfortunately. So I would have to go with Gaudi by Heist and Hensberg. It's not that this was bad, it was just, I expected there to be more about the actual architecture and his creative process, rather than about the man himself and his eccentricities and religious beliefs. Because the thing is, where a man will get called eccentric, a woman will be called difficult, you know? So like, he literally died because he was too goddamn ornery to look when he crossed the tram tracks, because he thought that the tram should stop for him. Bitch, what? So his architecture is absolutely stunning. Not such a nice guy, but I mean, what's new? So I really wish this was more about the architecture and less about Gaudi, but I suppose I wish there was a melding between the two, so that I got a little bit more of how this man crafted something as insane as the Sagrada Familia. You know, it's just absolutely breathtaking as architecture, but as a person, the other one that I would say would be Vittorio the Vampire by Anne Rice. Again, I didn't not enjoy this book. I didn't hate this book, but it was just a very meh book. Like, it was, again, very religious. There was more about angels in here than vampires, which I thought was very odd. And yet again, some very strange sexual scenes from Anne Rice. She chooses them. She definitely chooses them. I really apologize if you can hear that airplane. I live near where there are airplanes. Yes, this was just for me, you know. It doesn't make me want to pick up any more of her work, let me put it that way. So that concludes my quarterly roundup. Hopefully next quarter I will be able to have even more great books to talk to you about. I'm going to have some stinkers, because this month I've read some stinkers, let me tell you. But yeah, I don't know how anything is going to knock in the Dreamhouse and Freshwater off their perches, but we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be unhappy if a book did. Like, that would be great. So that's all I have for you today, and I'll take you next time.